In a packed Washington, D.C. auditorium, Barack Obama stood toe-to-toe with Donald Trump in an explosive live showdown over the newly released Epstein files. Trump stormed in with his usual cocky swagger, ready to mock and bulldoze his way through the night. But Obama stayed ice-cold and tore straight into him. What began as sharp jabs and biting sarcasm quickly turned into a brutal public takedown as Obama dropped one bombshell after another, exposing Trump and Ivanka's hidden connections, secret deals, and shocking family secrets that left Trump reeling on live television. The atmosphere inside the massive auditorium in Washington, D.C. was electric even before the event began. This was no ordinary political debate. It was a high-stakes public forum titled Truth and Accountability, broadcast live across the country, where former President Barack Obama and Donald Trump were supposed to face off over the newly released Epstein files. The giant screen behind the stage glowed with page after page of the newly released Epstein files, millions of documents, names, dates, and photos staring back at the crowd. Whispers rippled through the room as people pointed at the screen, leaning in to read the lines that mentioned Trump and his family over and over. The air felt thick with tension even before anything started. Then Trump walked in, chest out, flashing that familiar, confident grin like he owned the place. He settled into his seat, scanning the room like he was about to put on a performance that would dominate the night. Obama stepped out next, calm and steady as always. He didn't rush or wave to the crowd. He just walked to the center, looked straight at Trump, and pointed at the massive screen behind him. "Donald, these documents are public now. Your name floods every section. Ivanka's too. The connections aren't whispers anymore. They're written in black and white." The words hit hard. Before Trump could even respond, Obama clicked a remote and zoomed in on a specific email. There it was, right on the big screen for everyone to see. Epstein bragging in his own words, "I fixed the biggest problem for your family." Gasps broke out instantly. Then the hall exploded. One half of the crowd cheered and clapped, shouting for more truth, while the other half booed loudly, yelling that it was all fake. Phones shot up everywhere, recording the chaos. Trump shot up from his chair, face turning bright red, fists clenched at his sides. The confident smile was gone, replaced by pure anger. He jabbed a finger toward the screen, voice booming through the speakers. "This is the biggest witch hunt in history. Fabricated garbage from the deep state. I'll sue everyone involved before sunrise." The crowd split even harder. Trump's supporters started chanting his name loud and fierce, trying to drown out the boos and demands for answers from the other side. Shouts of "tell the truth" mixed with fake news as people stood up, pointing and arguing with each other. Then Obama kept his cool, not raising his voice even a bit. He picked up the remote again and zoomed in tight on the screen, pulling up old photos and handwritten notes from the Epstein files that showed Ivanka right in the middle of things. Dates, locations, and connections lit up for everyone to see. People leaned forward in their seats, murmuring and pointing as the evidence kept stacking up. Some whispered about the meetings that didn't add up, while others shook their heads in disbelief at how deep the names went. Suddenly, Obama switched to a live video feed. A former associate of Epstein appeared on the big screen, looking nervous but firm as he raised his hand and swore to tell the truth. "I saw the arrangements firsthand," the witness said clearly. The hidden pregnancy, the timeline that never added up with Melania, and how Epstein made the records vanish like it was nothing. "I was there when the calls happened to fix it all." The crowd lost it. Gasps turned into loud shouts and boos that echoed through the entire hall. Half the room erupted in cheers, demanding more details, while the other side yelled it was all lies and fake news. Phones were everywhere, people standing up in shock as the live testimony hit them like a punch. The energy shifted fast. Some folks clapped and hollered for justice. Others screamed at the screen, calling the witness a liar. The whole place felt like it was about to boil over. Trump jumped to his feet, face burning red with rage, jabbing his finger straight at the screen. "Lies, all lies," he bellowed, his voice cracking with anger. "My family is off limits. You're destroying innocent lives with these fake stories." He spun toward Obama, trying to turn it into a roast. "You're just a weak, bitter loser who can't let go of the past. Sad. Everybody knows you're obsessed with me because I beat you and made you look bad. Go back to your golf games and leave my kids alone." The crowd split even louder now, with Trump's supporters chanting his name in waves, trying to overpower the boos and angry shouts from the other side. "USA, USA" mixed with "tell the truth" as arguments broke out between rows. Trump kept pointing and pacing, his usual confident swagger turning into pure fury as he tried to regain control of the room. Obama didn't flinch or raise his voice. He looked straight at Trump, calm but sharp as a knife. "This isn't about politics, Donald. It's about truth. Your inner circle knew. The files show payments, meetings, and cover-ups. Deny it all you want, the evidence doesn't disappear. These aren't just random papers. They're records of calls, money transfers, and people who helped bury the secrets. The American people can see it for themselves right now on that screen. Trump's face twisted even more as he shot back immediately. "You're making this up to hurt me. Those files were planted by the same crooks who tried to stop me before. My family has nothing to hide. This is a total disgrace, and you should be ashamed for dragging my daughter into your witch hunt." His voice boomed through the speakers, but the crowd could see the sweat on his forehead and the way his hands shook a little as he gestured wildly. The hall kept exploding with reactions. People stood up, some cheering Obama's steady words, others yelling support for Trump and demanding the witness be cut off. Obama stayed right there, pointing back at the photos still glowing on the giant screen. He clicked again to highlight more notes about Ivanka and the timeline issues, letting the documents do some of the talking. Whispers turned into full arguments as folks tried to make sense of what they were seeing live. Trump wasn't backing down. He stepped closer to the edge of the stage, voice getting louder. "Nobody believes this garbage. You're a has-been trying to stay relevant. My family is stronger than ever and these lies won't touch us." But even as he spoke, the live witness was still visible on screen, and more people started demanding answers about the hidden details. Obama responded without missing a beat, his tone steady and cutting deeper with every word. "The truth isn't going away just because you shout louder, Donald. These files name names, dates, and deals. Your circle handled things that should have stayed in the light. The payments are documented. The meetings happened. People saw them. You can call it fake all night, but the records are public and they don't lie." The back and forth kept the crowd on edge, with cheers and boos crashing like waves. Trump's supporters tried to rally louder, but the weight of the live testimony and the zoomed-in evidence kept hitting hard. Faces in the audience showed everything from shock to anger to excitement as the family secrets spilled out one after another. Then Obama leaned forward slightly, his expression serious but completely in control. He looked Trump dead in the eyes and didn't waste any time. The giant screen behind him still glowed with the Epstein files, photos, and notes about the family still visible to everyone. The crowd quieted just enough to hear every word, sensing something huge was coming. "Right here, right now, Donald," Obama said firmly, his voice carrying through the speakers. "Will you take a public DNA test and end the rumors about Barron once and for all?" The files raised serious questions about timelines and parentage. The American people deserve the truth. The hall exploded. Thunderous applause erupted from one side of the room, people jumping to their feet, clapping and cheering wildly. Shouts of "do it" and "tell the truth" filled the air. On the other side, boos rang out loud and angry, but the cheers were drowning them out for the moment. Phones lit up everywhere as the crowd recorded the challenge, the energy in the room hitting a new level. Trump shot up from his seat like he'd been electrocuted, his face twisted in fury. He jabbed a finger toward Obama, voice booming with rage. "You're a disgrace trying to drag my son into your sick games. This is election interference at its worst." He paced a few steps, breathing hard. "I'm suing you. I'm suing whoever put these fake files together, and I'll win big. You're the most divisive figure in modern history, Barack. Everybody knows it." His supporters roared back in approval, chanting "Trump, Trump," and trying to push back against the applause. The room was split down the middle, with people yelling at each other across the aisles. Trump kept going, his voice getting louder. "This is low even for you. Leave my family alone. You're just jealous and desperate because you know the American people are with me, not you." Before Obama could respond, he clicked the remote again. A new video from the files started playing on the massive screen. There was Epstein laughing loudly in an old recording, clearly enjoying himself. "I cleaned up the mess for the Trumps," he said with a big grin. "The kind of mess money can't fix alone." The audio was crisp and unmistakable. The crowd went absolutely wild. Gasps, shouts, and screams filled the hall as the clip kept rolling. Trump lunged toward the control panel on the stage, frantically trying to shut the video off. "Turn that crap off now," he yelled, but nothing happened. The screen stayed on, Epstein's laugh still echoing through the speakers. Staff rushed over, but couldn't kill it fast enough. The failure only made things worse. The crowd erupted into total chaos, half cheering louder, half screaming that it was rigged or fake. People stood on chairs pointing at the screen and at Trump, arguments breaking out all over the room. Obama stayed calm, watching the reaction without raising his voice. "That's from the files, Donald. Public record. You can try to shut it down, but you can't make it disappear." The contrast between his steady tone and Trump's explosive anger made the moment even more intense. Trump spun back toward the audience, red-faced and sweating. "This is a setup, deep state garbage. I'll prove it's all lies in court." But his words were barely cutting through the noise. Supporters chanted his name while others demanded he answer the DNA question right there. The hall felt like it was shaking with the volume. Everyone locked in on the two men and the damning video still playing behind them. Then Trump stepped forward, trying to seize control of the room. He wiped sweat from his forehead and launched straight into personal attacks, his voice loud and sharp. "You're obsessed with me, Barack. That's why you're doing this. You can't stand that I beat you and made your whole legacy look weak." He pointed aggressively at Obama, roasting him hard. "You're a sore loser who's been crying for years. Sad. Look at you now, digging up old garbage just to stay in the spotlight. Pathetic." The crowd reacted instantly. Trump supporters exploded in cheers and started chanting "Trump, Trump, Trump," trying to take over the energy in the hall. On the other side, boos and angry shouts pushed back. People were on their feet yelling at each other, the room feeling more divided than ever. Trump kept going, feeding off his base. "He's doing this because he knows I'm coming back stronger. This is all a witch hunt to stop me from winning again." Obama stayed steady, not letting the noise rattle him. He clicked the remote and brought up a new set of documents on the giant screen. Flight logs and financial records lit up clearly, showing direct links between Trump, Ivanka, and Epstein, private flights, payments, and meetings that matched the files. "These aren't rumors, Donald," Obama said firmly. "These are your own circle's records. Dates, names, money trails, everything lines up." The new evidence hit the crowd like another shockwave. Gasps and murmurs spread fast as people squinted at the screen, pointing out specific transactions. Some cheered Obama for exposing more, while others screamed it was fake and doctored. The tension climbed higher, with arguments breaking out across the aisles. Trump wasn't having it. He spun back toward the audience, voice booming even louder. "You're obsessed with me because you know I beat you. These files were planted to stop me from winning again. Pathetic." He waved his arms, trying to fire up his supporters. "Come on, folks, let's show them who's really with us. This is election interference, pure and simple." His fans roared back, chanting his name even louder and drowning out some of the opposition for a moment. But the momentum didn't last long. Obama switched the feed again, and a second live witness appeared on screen. A former employee who had worked close to the inner circle. The man looked serious as he started speaking under oath. "I was in the room for that private meeting they tried to hide," he said. "Trump, Ivanka, and Epstein talking about fixing problems that couldn't go public. I heard the details myself. Names, plans, everything." The hall went into total frenzy. The crowd split harder than before, with massive cheers on one side and furious boos on the other. Several people stood up, pointing at Trump and shouting, "Answer him and tell the truth." Arguments erupted between rows as supporters tried to shout the witness down. Phones were held high everywhere, capturing every second of the live testimony. Trump's face turned deep red again as he shouted back at the screen, "This guy's a liar. I've never met with him like that. It's all made up to smear me and my family." But his denial only made the crowd louder. Obama let the witness continue for a few more seconds, adding more specifics about the meeting before the feed cut. Trump was starting to crack. His usual loud confidence was cracking too. He kept pacing back and forth on the stage, his voice getting sharper and more irritable with every sentence. Even though he tried to hide it, a slight shake came through when he spoke. His face flushed deep red and sweat clearly visible under the bright lights. The crowd noticed and the murmurs grew louder as people pointed it out to each other. Obama remained rock steady, his tone calm but cutting deeper with every word. He looked straight at Trump and said, "You built your brand on strength and loyalty, yet the files show you let others clean up your family's darkest secrets. Where's that strength now?" The question hung heavy in the air, simple and direct, hitting right at the heart of Trump's image. Trump's eyes widened with rage. He stormed toward the edge of the stage like he was about to walk out completely, turning his back on Obama and the screen. The crowd immediately exploded in loud boos and shouts of, "Don't run and answer the question." The noise stopped him cold. He froze for a second, then spun around furiously and jabbed a finger straight at Obama. "You're finished," he roared, voice cracking with anger. "This is treason against the American people." His supporters tried to rally with chants, but the boos from the rest of the hall were just as loud, creating a deafening wall of noise. Trump kept shouting, calling it all a setup and a witch hunt, but the shakiness in his voice was impossible to miss now. People in the audience leaned forward, sensing the breaking point had arrived. Obama didn't let the moment slip. He clicked the remote once more and brought up new documents on the giant screen. Indirect DNA references from the files, medical notes, and timeline records combined with fresh clips from the earlier witnesses. The evidence lined up clearly, showing inconsistencies that made the whole room gasp. Trump stared at the screen, mouth open for a few long seconds, completely silent. It was a rare crack in his armor, that brief vulnerability showing through as the weight of everything hit him at once. The crowd went wild, some cheering the exposure while others screamed in denial. The hall felt like it could explode at any moment. Trump finally snapped out of the silence, shaking his head and yelling denials again, but his energy seemed drained for the first time all night. "This proves nothing. All fake," he shouted, but the words didn't carry the same force. Obama stood there calmly, letting the documents speak for themselves as more people stood up demanding answers. Then Obama stepped forward one last time, calm and in total command. He pointed at the giant screen still filled with documents, photos, flight logs, and witness statements. "We've seen the emails, the payments, the meetings, and the cover-ups," he said clearly. "We've heard from people who were there. Donald's name and Ivanka's are all over these files. The timelines don't add up and the public deserves full accountability. This isn't about one night, it's about facing the truth in the open." Trump stood there breathing heavily, his earlier fire now mixed with visible exhaustion. He stepped up for one final outburst, voice loud but cracking at the edges. "I will destroy these lies in court," he shouted, jabbing his finger toward Obama and the screen. "My family will be vindicated. This is all a hoax and the American people know it." The crowd erupted into total chaos. Massive applause thundered from one side for Obama, people standing and cheering wildly. Trump supporters fought back just as loud, chanting "Trump, Trump, Trump" and booing at the top of their lungs. Shouts of truth mixed with fake news as arguments exploded across the room. The noise was deafening, the hall completely split and electric. Obama waited for the volume to dip just a little, then delivered his final words with steady force. "The files are public. The truth is out. The American people will decide what it means." Before anyone could catch their breath, Obama clicked the remote for the last time. A new email flashed across the giant screen. An Ivanka-related message discussing arrangements and fixes tied directly to Epstein. The hall absolutely exploded. Cheers, gasps, and furious shouts shook the walls as people pointed and stood up everywhere. Trump's face twisted in pure rage. He glared at the screen, then turned and stormed off the stage without another word, his steps fast and heavy. Boos rained down on one side while his loyal supporters cheered and clapped for him, creating a storm of sound that followed him out. The mix of applause and jeers echoed long after he disappeared. Obama stayed right where he was, standing tall and calm, watching Trump leave with a quiet, unshaken expression. The screen still glowed behind him with the final piece of evidence as the crowd kept roaring. No one was in a hurry to leave. Whispers and heated debates broke out immediately. What would happen next in court, with the family, or in the public eye? The night had ended in total fireworks, but the questions it raised were only just beginning. The full weight of what had just unfolded hung heavy in the studio long after Trump stormed out. His empty chair sat alone under the bright lights, looking strangely symbolic. Cameras slowly panned across it, capturing the moment in real time. No one spoke for several long seconds. The weight of everything that had just exploded hung thick in the air. The audience sat stunned, processing the dramatic exit. Obama remained seated for a moment, letting the silence breathe. Then he slowly stood up, adjusting his jacket with calm dignity. He walked a few steps forward on the stage, his presence steady and commanding. When he finally spoke, his voice was deep, measured, and filled with quiet authority. Power without truth and responsibility will eventually destroy itself. No amount of noise, no amount of loyalty to family or inner circle can protect a leader forever when they choose to hide from reality. Real leadership demands courage. The courage to look in the mirror and face the darkest parts of yourself, even when it's painful, even when it costs you something. His words carried through the studio with powerful weight. People listened intently, many leaning forward in their seats. Obama continued without raising his voice, yet every sentence felt heavy. True strength isn't about shouting the loudest or protecting your image at all costs. It's about serving something bigger than yourself. It's about choosing honesty when it would be easier to lie. That is the kind of leadership this country needs. The audience began reacting. At first it was scattered applause, then it grew louder and stronger. Soon many people rose to their feet. The clapping turned into a strong, sustained ovation. Some cheered while others still looked visibly shocked by the intense confrontation they had just witnessed. The energy in the room had completely shifted from tension to something closer to release. Obama stood tall, acknowledging the response with a small nod, but showing no sign of celebration or gloating. He waited for the applause to settle slightly before delivering his final message. The real question tonight isn't who won this debate. The real question is, what kind of leadership do we want for the future of this country? Do we want leaders who hide behind power and family shields, or leaders who are brave enough to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be? The applause surged again, even louder than before. Several audience members stood completely nodding in agreement. The atmosphere felt charged with emotion, part relief, part reflection, and part lingering shock from Trump's dramatic departure. Obama turned and looked directly into the main camera, his eyes steady and intense. In a clear, powerful voice that would echo far beyond the studio, he delivered the final line. Truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to be spoken. The words landed like a closing statement that no one would soon forget. The audience erupted into another wave of applause, many now standing in a full ovation. Obama gave one last respectful nod to the crowd, then stepped back from the center of the stage. The lights remained bright on the empty chair across from him, a silent reminder of how the night had unfolded. What had begun as a debate about leadership had ended as something much more powerful, a raw, unforgettable moment that forced everyone watching to think about the true cost of power, loyalty, and honesty in American politics.